This is a really rare plant. This is the only plant in North America of this species, and this is a collection we did from the highest point in its range. So this would be in China, which would be the hardiest version of this to be found anywhere. Typically, it's a subtropical forest tree, getting like 70 feet tall, but it's a relic from the Pleistocene Ice Age and exists on 5 different mountain ranges where it escaped the effects of the ice coverage. And they've evolved a little differently. The Chinese recognize 5 different sort of races of this, but it's super primitive plant and pretty cool. So it's just really exciting. It's got these big seeds, like a big elongated walnut, and real low viability and germination, so it doesn't have great reproduction in the wild. They can take like 4 to 8 years to germinate. During that time, there's any number of things that come happily along and crack open this seed. The seeds have multiple embryos in the seed, so you can have like one germinate, and then 2 years later there might be like 2 more come up right alongside of it as a younger plant. It's a weird thing. So yeah, we've seen it on 2 different mountain ranges, which is pretty cool. So we've seen 2 out of the 5 races, but really beautiful. This has needed to be repotted a long time ago, but it's such a beast. But what we want to do is to get this thing to fruit. It's flowered a couple times, and we're really anxious to see the flowers. And the flowers are also very primitive, so there's not a whole lot of showy action going on, but there's a nice sort of vertical candle of business parts going on. So we were going to hand pollinate it the first time it flowered, but went to go do that, and it was just all these hornets and things in these flowers, which was kind of interesting because it's a flower without petals, not a whole lot of things going on, but the same hornets that were pollinating this also like to pollinate the Schefflera, now heptapleron. They also like working like Fatsia polycarpa, so the Araliaceae. So there's some, it'd be really cool to take infrared photos of this to see, like it must just be like a flare gun or something going off that we are unable to see, but the insects are able to see. So, but it's got a huge root system. The roots are really thick and fleshy, and we've often found it growing in kind of a spongy, and it gets much fatter and thicker than this, and this is just like squishy. And even though this was on top of the mountain, it was on kind of like almost like a perch bog sort of on top of the mountain. It was just a lower, wetter area, but down in the lowlands, it's like water running over the roots almost on a 70-foot tree when we're beautiful glossy foliage that's evocative of Daphne-phyllum or rhododendrons. But yeah, I think it's got potential to be hardy in mild areas. Certainly urban heat sink like Seattle, I think every chance to believe that this particular clone, being high elevation, which admittedly is not terribly high, but for that part of southern China is as high as it gets, has some possibilities. But yeah, San Francisco, here you come at some point in the future.